Hey guys, welcome back to the Highway City Community Science Center. We're having an awesome time making projects over here, and let's do a project that you can make at home. So we're talking today about constellations. If you don't know what a constellation is, constellations are groupings of stars that you can see in the sky. And so they are patterns that are recognizable, they don't change, and they don't move. If you've ever heard of the Big Dipper or the Little Dipper, these are definitely constellations as well. And so constellations are important for a few different reasons. They're important because of mythology. So back in the day, specifically the Greeks and the Romans are known for making stories up about the constellations. And we're going to discuss one of those stories today. They're also known to help us with navigation. And this was sailing back in the day specifically. But it can help in flight, although now in flight we use computer systems to help us with navigation. But if you're ever hiking and you don't have a phone, you can't look up where you're at on Google Maps, constellations can actually help to tell you what direction you're going. And as a more modern way that they help us, they also help with satellite tracking. So if we launch a satellite into outer space, oftentimes you can detect where it is just by seeing what constellations it is passing in the sky. It's pretty cool, right? And if you're interested, the Next Generation Science Standard is 4 ESS 1-1, and it's discussing Earth's place in the universe. Let me show you a little bit about what we're going to be making today. So we're going to make a constellation scope. When you hold it up to your eye and you hold it up to the light, you can see the constellation as though you were looking at it in outer space. I'm going to show you what it looks like when light is going on the other side of it. So what you're seeing is the constellation of Orion. You're actually seeing it backwards. And so when you look at it the other way, the way you would look through a telescope, it's going to be forwards. But when you look at it this way, and when we make it, you're actually looking at it backwards. This is what it looks like when you put a flashlight through your constellation scope. This is what your constellation scope is going to look like when you're looking through it, and light is reflecting on the other side. See, it looks like you're seeing a constellation. Alright, so there aren't many materials that you need to make this one. You can use a cylinder, or in this case we have a cone. You need some black construction paper that's pre-cut, a rubber band, and a sharpened pencil. So first what you're going to do is you're going to take your black construction paper, you're going to put it on one end of the cylinder or on the larger end of the cone. Then you're going to smash it down, just like this. Next, you're going to take your rubber band, you're going to put it over your paper, you're going to stretch it out, make an 8 with it. See how it's kind of an 8 shape? You're going to take this bottom part of the 8 and you're going to put it over your paper again. So if you know how to tie a ponytail, it's just like that. If you don't know how to tie a ponytail, now you do. It's just like that. Alright, so what you should have is something like this. Now you're going to need a sharpened pencil. This is how you're going to poke your holes. So we're going to do the constellation of Orion. And Orion is the constellation that I chose because Orion is actually the most recognizable in the sky because of 3 small stars. So a lot of people think that it's the Big Dipper, also known as Ursa Major, which is a bear, or the Little Dipper, known as Ursa Minor, which is also a bear. But it's actually Orion just because those stars in his belt are particularly bright. And so you'll be able to see this one pretty easily come wintertime especially. So the story of Orion is that Zeus was unhappy with Orion because Orion was a great hunter. Orion said that he could hunt literally anything. And so Zeus looked at him and he was like, man, you're being really arrogant. Like, I really don't like that. And so he sent a scorpion out to go hunt Orion. But Orion was actually best friends with Apollo's twin sister. And when she heard what Zeus had done to go hunt Orion, she was devastated because they were best friends. Even though Orion was super arrogant, she was really devastated. And so she decided to put him into the stars to cast a memory of him whenever she wanted to see him. There's also another part of the myth that says that the scorpion is also cast in the stars right next to him, and it will be chasing him all throughout his afterlife. So there's two parts to the myth there. So I kind of said this earlier, but we're going to be making this backwards. So when you're poking these holes, you're going to poke them backwards so that when you look through your constellation scope, you're going to see the constellation forward. It's going to make a mirror image. So we're going to start with his belt. His belt is the easiest 3 stars to recognize, and it's going to be right in the middle. You're going to poke 3 holes just like this. 1, 2, 3. They're going to be in the middle, but they're also going to be kind of small. So wait for just a second before you poke them until you see exactly where they're going to need to be. Because now we're going to make his legs and his arm and his bow. And then I'm going to show you how to poke them. So his legs are going to be right here and right here. His arm is going to be right here and right here. And then his bow is going to be all the way up here. We're going to get to that in just a second. So you have a lot smaller of a surface to work with than I do on this board here, and you're going to want to keep that in mind. Be mindful of the space. So the way you poke these holes is you look at the drawing that I have right here, and you're going to poke them just like this. Just like this. His arm is going to go right here. And then we're going to work on his bow. Alright, so we already have most of Orion finished at this point. But we definitely want to make his bow. His bow is going to go right here. It's going to be 3 dots, and they're kind of going to curve a little. So let's make the middle one first. And then there's going to be 1 above and 1 below. So this arm is pulling on his bow since he's a hunter. And lastly, we definitely can't forget the sword. It's just 2 small holes right here. But I only put 1 hole because we have a very small surface area to work with. And so if you make 2 holes, it's likely going to crowd up, and you're going to be poking holes that are going to be together. It's not going to look quite as good. So I'm only going to poke 1 hole here, but in the constellation there's 2. So let me just put an X so we know to only put 1 for his sword. And let me show you how to make those bows. Alright, now you should have something that looks like this. Let's see what it looks like in view. So now we can see that while we made the bow on the left side when we were poking our holes, it's actually going to appear on the right side when we're looking through it, just the same way that we would see it in the sky. It makes a mirror reflection. Thank you for watching this video. I hope that you learned a little bit about constellations, and I really hope that you can identify Orion in the sky. It's a really cool story and a really cool constellation, very recognizable. Until next time, thanks for watching.